got actual lights now, not the things that were like burning our retinas out. Hi.
Wait, can we do the Matt Welch thing where you're like touching the screen? Like,
And then
is
and I
this
have to
on?
go.
Wait,
Wait,
yeah.
that would be me too. So. And
Just
you.
dropped my
So,
phone,
okay.
so.
Hi, everyone. I'm here with Yale Bartour, and we're going to speak really loud because, per usual, there's just tech stuff happening inside Paloma Media, and that I can't get the. For some reason, YouTube doesn't want to recognize our mics, so we will do our best. We are here to have a light-hearted conversation about Israel. And before we start, yay! We can see your questions. We would really, really love for you guys to send questions because
otherwise it'll just be me sitting here crying and Nancy
and
like,
blabbing, and I'll
awkward.
like go in the kitchen and start baking something and be like, whatever, just turn it off when you're done. So I'm just going to give a little intro, and then maybe you can talk about why you're in Twitter jail for another half an hour. So about a week ago, I think it was last Wednesday night,
Thursday. I was just back from I was walking back from Central Park. I was on a run, and it was like on every block I stopped to add something.
Right. So she gets home from a run. She's like, Nancy, I got this thing I want to like. I've got like a tweet thread I want to write about Israel. But I'm not really sure if I want to do it. And I was like, hey, just do it. Don't worry about it. You're gonna get some haters. It doesn't matter if they come at you. Just it's fine. She's like, okay, I'm gonna do it. She puts it up, and I sound what? What's happening? Sound?
No, I said send.
Send.
That was
okay. Anyway, she said something. Anyway, within 10 minutes of this tweet thread being up, it had been read like 10,000 times, and it went bananas. And I was like, okay, well, there you go. Good luck. Anyway, it was a moving and interesting experience, and it showed. Yale will be speaking about it right now. How absolutely hungry people are for not like one side or the other. They just want some authenticity. They want it delivered in an honest way, maybe with a little humor and a little sadness. So I'm going to turn it over to you now, and you can maybe talk a little bit about what you did.
Yes. So I started this tweet thread by saying, and I feel this way today as well, that I'm born and raised in Israel, and I go back and forth between never wanting to talk about Israel ever again, and all wanting to talk about it all the time. And obviously, it's very emotional. My whole family is
louder.
Louder. Okay,
yeah.
I'll yell.
Yell.
Yeah, we'll yell. Obviously, very emotional topic for me, but very controversial in today's climate. And I, like many people, I don't like to start shit. I don't like to put stuff out and make people angry at me or make people do anything that's a little bit controversial. But that being said, I also am not very good at shutting up when I have something to say, like, some of my people that I've learned from. So I put it out. I got a lot of, I think the kind of, Nancy and our friend Chayale and the Fifth Column community just to giving me like some courage because I wouldn't have been this outspoken. And I just wrote about my experiences growing up in Israel and kind of how I see the conflict. I mentioned, right off the bat, and I'll say it again, I am not a neutral party. I don't think there are any neutral parties, but obviously, I know where my heart lies. I am a proud Zionist. I'm left-wing for what it's worth. I've never voted right of center in Israel. What's considered, a lefty liberal elitist snob in Israel. But
we think of you that way too.
Thank you, and a New Yorker too. But I just said, kind of what I want to say. So anyway, I hope you can look at it. I would have loved to share it again, but I'm actually in Twitter jail right now.
Now I actually, I haven't seen you since Saturday night. Yeah. We might get to the party in a little bit, but
And by the way, we didn't plan. So we were just like, let's fucking we're allowed to swear on this, right? Let's fucking do this. We didn't plan. We had an hour to plan, but we spent it talking about other things.
Other things that shall not speak its name. But so you're under the impression that Matt Welch and I plan all of our
it just looks so put
together. So super pro. Yeah. I've got my little bullet points over down here. I like
and you have the teleprompter over there.
Absolutely. Yeah. People, that guy with holding up the cards. No, I don't know why you're in Twitter jail. You said it was something about Hitler.
It was something about Hitler. And it's I don't blame Twitter. I love to blame Twitter for things. I don't blame Twitter. But I had retweeted some verified blue check mark from the Middle East saying something about Israel being Hitler, and I kind of mused. I thought it was a hilarious tweet about how the same people that call Israel Twitter, are the same people who they'll call Israel Twitter, the same people who call Israel Hitler also say that Hitler did nothing wrong. So
Wait, what?
the same people that say Israel is literally acting like Hitler are also the people that say like Hitler was great and he should have killed all the Jews.
So they're saying then that Israel did nothing wrong.
Yeah, so by my logic, it was a wonderful tweet, really. I think one of my best. But I got put in Twitter jail, and I don't blame them. I think I triggered the algorithm. I think you get a 2 Hitler maximum in a tweet, and I think I had the word Hitler in there 3 times.
What's a synonym for Hitler? Right? That's what we got. There's got to be an entire book about Hitler's synonyms. But yeah.
And then somebody in our little group chat, I told the story, and somebody said, I don't understand what happened, but I'm pretty sure Yael joined the Hitler Youth. And I was, I took it as a compliment that I'm young enough to be in the
You're
Hitler
like
Youth.
96 years old
Yeah.
now. You look great.
Yeah,
you look
you.
amazing. Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, so that's why I'm in Twitter jail. It's only for like 30 more minutes. Honestly, it was a blessing in disguise. I think it got me off Twitter for, most of the day, even though they still send me notifications, which is kind of a tease. But why are we telling the story? Oh, because I can't share the tweet. Again,
Well,
so
we
just
will.
find it.
I will put it up. So later, when I post a little something about this, probably on the Paloma Media podcast feed, I will put some links. What really touched me about your tweet thread was the tone. The tone was like really super, basically honest, kind of funny, but also really, really really direct. Like, do you think, like, people of the world, do you really think that most Israelis would rather like hate Palestinians than go to a bar or the beach? No, just like everybody else in the world, they love their children and they do things, and these are people. And to like kind of, you were reading a great quote. I think you have that quote, that quote. It's like the way the mind goes to this sort of simplest solution that solves everything and makes your side right is just ridiculous. You're dehumanizing people when you do that. And there is no one group of people anywhere of any ilk or persuasion or religion or color or nationality that is going to fit this, that is going to fit something that you need in order to make your side look right. And it's really lazy, and it's really cruel, and actually it benefits no one. So I thought this was a very, very good quote, and you prefaced it today by saying it's basically all we're sort of talking about.
I want to tattoo it on my face.
Not the face.
Okay, not the
maybe
face.
The neck.
Okay, maybe the neck.
Kind of sexy. Okay.
But this is from Maddie Friedman, who is a reporter in Israel, AP reporter in Israel, who I hadn't heard of before. But and this is actually from a 2019 New York Times op-ed where he talks about the Israeli-Arab conflict and how it's not what people think it is. And this is true for everything. He says, abandoning the pleasures of the simple story for the confusing realities of the bigger picture is emotionally unsatisfying. An observer is denied a clear villain or an ideal solution. But, and then it goes on. But yeah, that is the reality of almost everything we deal with. As some of you know, I also work in law enforcement. So that's like, I would say like the Venn diagram of people who hate Israel and people who hate law enforcement is like just like one circle. But in both cases, I really find it to be very, very true that we like to take very complex issues that are hundreds, sometimes thousands of years old and have so many different facets and boil them down to a single tweet. And you can never understand any of this in a tweet. And I say this too, like I said, I grew up in Israel. I served in the military there. I did my undergrad in Israel studying like Israel stuff. And I still don't understand a lot of it. So when somebody comes to me and says, hey, I read this thing or I listened to this NPR story and I have it all figured out, I'm like, no, you don't. And actually, a lot of what you think is true is not true. And I feel very, very comfortable saying that because I see some of the arguments that are being made online, and a lot of them are just factually incorrect. Some criticism of Israel is correct, and I probably hold those same views. Because I'm not an Israel can do nothing wrong person. I don't know a lot of people like that, at least in my immediate surrounding. But I find a lot of it to be based on a very, very, Nancy, you used the word lazy. I'll, I have no problem using it here. A very lazy kind of victim and oppressor view. And even more than lazy, I find it very self-centered almost, because people are saying, well, I take the world as I see it as an American, or as a European, and I look at the problems around me, and I am kind of trying to dress that narrative on something that's going on halfway around the world, that's been going on for hundreds or thousands of years, because this is the way I see the world, and it's just really fucking stupid and wrong.
So first of all, thank you very much, KB. That's very kind of you to say. So I was in a conversation a couple of months ago, probably my writings about Portland, maybe it was something else. And someone asked, it may have been in one of the police rooms that we run on Clubhouse, said, so when you are writing a story, are you looking for confirmation of what you believe? And I was like, wow, actually, I'm looking for disconfirmation. I'm looking to test what I found by, shoe leather reporting, what people have told me, what I've read, people that have made me insanely angry, people that everything seems a little too pat. I have a story today in the Dispatch. Go check it out if you can get over there, about sort of the future of the Portland business community. And I found everybody had different opinions, and that was really, really cool to write, as opposed to just saying like, I know the answer to all this. I'm going to speak to you on high. It's so much more interesting, and it gives the reader more to think about, and people to realize like, wow, nothing is settled. Nothing is ever settled. We all have like these things that we can hook onto, and to ignore that is going on, to ignore, for instance, that in Portland there are some people that are optimistic and some people that are pessimistic, is stupid. And how does it help anything? I mean, this is a much less volatile story than what you're talking
And
about,
actually,
but it's the same thing.
I want to do one more, like, based on what you said, one more like table slamming thing.
Please, let's move the drinks.
Move the expensive microphones. That the people that are trying to narrow this down into good versus evil, and yes, people who are also on the Israel side who are narrowing this down to just complete and absolute right and wrong, are doing a disservice and doing actual harm. I'm not talking about like woke, like harm, I'm hearing something I don't like to hear, but are harming the ability of two peoples to live safely and in peace side by side.
100%. 100%. I'm sorry, I'm veering back to Portland, but that's what I know.
Yeah.
So somebody last week, it was something from The Intercept, they tweeted about how the problem in Portland is not that there's violence being committed by the anarchists or the, smash and dash kids, whatever you want to call them. The problem is that reporters are reporting on it. And I'm like, wait, what? Now, that actually does harm. That basically says we are condoning passively or actively the violence in this city. And we're going to tell you that if you disagree with it, then you're part of the problem. It's like, this is completely backwards. It doesn't mean you have to you might even agree with the aims of the people that are breaking stuff. Though if you could tell me what they actually are, that would be cool, because all I see is destruction at this point. But yes, to say like one side bad, one side good, that's it, that's the end. I don't confuse me with the facts, is actually in your situation and in Portland to a certain extent dangerous.
Yeah, and
actually dangerous.
Like I've been in public policy for I don't know how many years, because I'm very, very young. But I've been in public policy for, I don't know.
What are you, 96?
Yeah.
Hitler Youth.
97.
What does that mean?
Hi, Shiran. Ahlan means, well, this is great. Ahlan means hello in Arabic, but we also use it in Israel because Israel is, such a real melting pot, and we do use a lot of Arabic slang and Arabic food, and it helps us connect with our neighbors better. But what was I starting to say before Shilan rudely interrupted us? Just like an Israeli does. Just like an Israeli does.
Just like a New Yorker does.
I was going to say that public policy is I think really needs to be separated from idealism. And if it can fit on a protest sign, I don't want to hear it.
Or a tweet.
Okay, on a tweet. It could sound nice, and I could agree with it. 100%, I could agree with it, but it's not going to solve issues, because when you want to solve issues, you're going to get down and dirty. You're going to start writing shit up. You're going to bring people to the table. You're going to make people compromise. You're going to make people unhappy.
You're going to make people uncomfortable.
Yeah.
They're going to talk about things they don't want to talk about. They're going to actually have to test their views. We've got some really, I'm so happy to see some people here. Hey, Steven. Steven was here the other night. Hey again, Nancy. Hey, Yael. Yael, you joked about starting a new kind of taglit, free trip to Israel. To Israel, do you think including non-Jews would help forge a better understanding of Israel?
Yeah. So
I'm non-Jew. I'm going.
Yeah, and Stephen, I don't remember much from Saturday night when we met at Nancy's party.
It was the Palomas. You do know Paloma Media is named after the cocktail. People are like, "Are you named after the dove for peace?" I'm like, "Yeah, no."
Oh, I didn't even know that's. Okay.
Yeah, like anyway, it's tequila. But anyway.
But yeah, I do remember that, Stephen. That I've taken many people to Israel with me over the years, not in Taglit, which is a program that lets anybody who is Jewish or has a Jewish background under the age of, I think, 30 go on a free trip to Israel. It's a wonderful program.
Cool.
But it has a set agenda, right? So I've taken people to Israel.
What is the set agenda?
It is to show the Israeli side of the conflict.
Okay.
Again, Israel's paying for it, so
Sure,
I think that's fine.
Okay.
And they do a lot of multicultural stuff. So they meet a lot of Arab Israelis, Muslim Israelis, Christian Israelis. But you are getting what's called the Israeli view of this conflict. But I think just having taken so many people to Israel with me and showing them that side, and also things that I was uncomfortable with, but I knew that smart people wanted to hear. My trips, we took people to Ramallah too to meet with people from the PLO. I think a great new birthright would be, maybe somebody could help me with this. I just want to pay for somebody's ticket, non-Jewish, and I will take you there. I'll take you to the airport. I'll drop you off. I will wave goodbye from the Tel Aviv Ben Gurion Airport, which is currently under missile fire, and I will go to my parents, and you'll just hang out in the country for a week. So I won't send an agenda for you. I won't tell you who to talk to. I won't tell you how to talk to them. I won't give you any guidance. Just go explore.
That's called being a journalist.
It's called, yeah.
You just go walk around, meet people.
Yeah, meet people, go around. I'll meet you in a week in the airport. And every single person that I know that comes back from Israel on any kind of trip where they just meet people, they get it. They get it. They're not exactly, becoming right-wing Israelis, which I am not. I like I said that, but you get the multiculturalism of the country. You get that the country is, for example, majority non-white, like Stephen mentioned here, which is something that I don't even know how the word white found itself into the Israeli Arab discourse, because Israelis don't even we don't even use that terminology. But now it's something that you have to tell people that is, Israel's majority non-white. You'll see.
What does that mean exactly?
So first of all, 20% of Israel's population is Arab, Muslim or Christian, but they're 100% full rights in Israel. They carry Israeli passports. They work among us. You can't tell until somebody says their name, their first name, which is Arab or Jewish, or starts talking. They might have an Arabic accent. And they, serve on Supreme Court. They serve in different capacities. They're doctors. I just went back to get a procedure done, and I had an Arab doctor. And the situation right now is not great. I'm not going to lie, but there have been actually Israeli Arabs with Israeli passports who born and raised in Israel, who have been attacking and actually killed people in Israel. And there have also been Jews who have said, let's go fuck up some Arabs.
Right.
And done the same. And I just refuse to believe that they represent a majority. I understand,
of course,
the political difference, but I saw a great Reddit post from a guy, because I'm on Reddit, because I think it's great, in our Israel, which is the Israel subreddit, which is now locked because, of course, it's getting attacked. But this guy was an Arab Israeli, and he said, look, you know, let's say there are 10,000 Israeli Arabs protesting right now. Let's say 100,000. It's not even close. What is that? 1%? Like, it's such a sliver of the population. So we all have to take a step back and stop reacting so emotionally to things that we see from the conflict. And no, actually, I'll take that back. We're allowed to react emotionally because it fucking sucks to see people getting
You had
hurt.
a bad week about a week ago. It was not fun for you.
I'm still having a bad week.
Yeah.
But it's okay to react emotionally, but you can't let that cloud your judgment. And if you are, my parents live in a very Arab area. They live right on the border of Jaffa. So do I want them to be more careful? Yes, 100%. I do. I am scared that Israeli Arabs will hurt my parents. Do I want them to walk around thinking that all these people want to harm them? No, 100%. And
No.
they won't, because they grew up with them and they've lived there all their lives.
Right.
Right. So
they don't fall sway instantly to the rhetoric and the sort of
yeah. So
we've
that's
got some questions here. By
oh
the
my
way,
gosh.
when
Okay.
we get there.
More questions.
Someone
Sandy said, "Do we have to be under 30?" Sandy, you could pass. I know what you look like.
Someone said, "Do you think Israel can ever be peaceful, or it will always be in wars?"
That's a great question.
A large question.
Khalid, who I assume by your name, and I don't know if is this politically correct to assume what people are anymore?
I mean, is that a
I don't know
Arab name?
Khalid, I think you're an Arab, which makes me very even happier that you're here and happier to hear your question. I have to believe it. I have no choice.
But that's your. You said no crying.
Zionist
No
tears.
crying, but smiling. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't okay. So I'm emotional heart right now. Emotionally right now, I don't. But in my head, I do believe it, and hopefully in a week or two, I'll believe it again. Yeah, I think people need to realize that there are better things out there than fighting each other and struggle. And I have my own thoughts on how we got to this place. I think Israelis are very much in that place where Israelis live. War sucks, but Israelis live pretty comfortable life. Israelis are a very, very modern country. Palestinians in Gaza and in the West Bank live pretty shitty lives. I don't deny that. I think the blame for that is 100% by Hamas, who is taking millions and millions of dollars in aid, in American tax money, in EU money, and UN money, and spending it on building, dozens of miles of tunnels underground and weapons instead of schools and hospitals. There's a great meme, by the way, in Israel when all this Hamas barrage of rockets started. Somebody said, well, I guess we know Hamas wasn't making sourdough bread all of last year during COVID. But I think I hope that Palestinians will be able to bring upon a leader or leadership that will prioritize their lives over the struggle to eliminate the state of Israel and invest in education, in schools, in things that make people, happy, things that make people, want to live.
I'm gonna just this is a
I want
long
to go
one.
back to Khalid, but Khalid is actually, hey, do you think Israel can ever? Okay. Logically, it can't be. There's more than 2 million Arabs inside Israel that now are set to hate Israel. I don't know, Khalid. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if you're hearing something else. I know Israeli Arabs, 2 million Israeli Arabs, have a complicated relationship with the state of Israel. But from what I understand from people I talk to and what I read, they have a complicated relationship with the state of Israel, but they would not live anywhere else. And they definitely wouldn't. I don't know any who would want to move to the West Bank or Gaza. So I'd like to think, despite this conflict, there could be peace. And look, we talk about, there are so many conflicts in the world that don't, like even today, young Israelis go to Germany, they go to Berlin, and they love it. And we know very well about the Holocaust. We know very well about what happened there. But we're in a different place now, both nations, and able to kind of enjoy each other's tourism.
And you can understand and accept that. This is an
Mhm.
interesting question.
Yes.
Do you believe that the PA's policy represent the majority of the opinions of the Palestinian people?
Yeah. Um,
I know nothing about that, by the way. So
I don't know. I'd like to think they don't, but I can't get over the fact that they democratically, the first democratic elections ever to be held in the Palestinian territories, resulted in the election of Hamas, which is, I mean, there's no other way to put it. It is a terrorist organization. They are very clear and proud of that. Telling them that they're not a terrorist organization is actually offensive to them. But they rocked cities throughout my whole childhood with suicide bombing. So I understand that people maybe voted for them because they thought for other reasons, but I still can't get over the fact that somebody cast a vote for a terrorist organization. That said, I do believe that Palestinian people are people, and like I said, I'd like to think that they want to a better future for their children.
most people do. So I'm gonna be like the stupid American or ask the most basic question, which is why does such a large and vocal part of what it seems to be the liberal media in the United States, why are they so pro-Palestinian and so anti-Israel? This is what I just
Mhm.
don't understand. It's like, and I think that, now just bear with me here a second. I'm not the biggest dummy in the world. I kind of pay attention to the news and what's going on, and I'm like, how are they getting to that place that doesn't seem to have any real bearing on what's going on the ground if you open your eyeballs?
Mhm.
Is it because they perceive, Israel to be a rich country and Palestinian to be a poor country? Does it have to go back to like settlers and then you've taken land? Like, where is it? Is it anti-Semitism? Like, or even like, hidden anti-Semitism? They don't even realize they're being anti-Semitic. What is it?
Wow, I think it's so many things. I think that the progressive / woke case against Israel is very strong. I think it's based on probably 100% lies. I don't even say misinformation or disinformation. I think it's based on things, words.
Louder. Talk louder.
Oh, I'm sorry, louder. It's based on words like colonialism and white supremacy, and they're even managing to put like police brutality in there. And Nancy, you're gonna read and see if any comments are mean in the meantime.
That's all right. I am a European Jewish lady. If I were gay or Christian, I'd rather live in Israel than anywhere else. As a woman, Israel is where I'd rather be.
Yeah.
Bruno Alameda says, "Hello, girls. It's me, Tyrone. Do you remember me?"
No, but
No.
hi, Tyrone.
Hello, Tyrone. How are you? Go ahead.
What was I gonna say? So again, I think it's trying to distill very, very complicated situation into a very black and white, sometimes literally
Right.
black and white narrative, which is not based on truth. And I'm happy to go into that. I don't think I need to, and I think there are people who are better equipped to talk about how far back do you want to go, like 1967, 1947, 1919, like there's so many different layers to the history of the Jewish people and the Palestinian people on this land. And by the way, you will notice that when I talk about Israel, I will never use the religious argument, because I think even if you take all the holy sites out of there, which are very important, and all the Jewish ties to the land out of there, there's still a very, very, very strong case to be made for the Jewish people to live on that land. But and I'm sorry, I'm like kind of rattling off in a million different directions. Where is it coming from? I think it's this idea that there are always good guys and bad guys. There's always victims and oppressors, and for some reason, there is this idea that if somebody is a victim, they are also right, or they are also, at the very least, there's a moral equivalence. And I don't deny that Palestinians are victims. I think their lives suck. I think they're awful. I think it is not a result of Israel trying to defend itself from, hundreds and hundreds of missile attacks and terrorism that's been going on for over 100 years.
And not just from that. I mean, from surrounded.
Yeah.
By I mean, it's this tiny little country surrounded by like 7 other countries
Yeah.
that have been trying to obliterate it
Yeah, and then
since
there's
it
just
came.
like basic like misunderstandings and like people think that the land was called Palestine before, so people tend to think it's a common misunderstanding that there was a country called Palestine, which there never was. It was a British mandate
Yeah.
of Palestine that was controlled by the British, controlled by before that by the Ottoman Empire, and it was a land where Muslims, Christians, and Jews lived in different ratios. And Jews started coming in; they started buying, purchasing land with um, with money. They started settling in the land side by side with their neighbors. It wasn't always peaceful, and eventually the UN in 1947 decided to create the partition plan and told there were no Palestinian people there because Palestinian people were only started to identify as such after 1967. But it told the people of the land, we'll have 2 states here. We'll have one Jewish land and one land for the Arabs. And Israel said, that the young Israel country said, okay, let's roll. And the Muslims on the land invaded with 5 armies from, Egypt, Syria, and tried to destroy the country. And that's kind of the beginning of, I guess, the modern conversation about Israel. But it's a common misconception that there was a country called Palestine there. There wasn't. Everybody was living on the land that was called the British Mandate of Palestine, and technically the Jews there were natives of Palestine too.
Oh, this is an interesting question,
Okay.
but I'm gonna just twist it a little bit. So
Okay.
Colette is asking, do you think the U.S. will keep the support they give Israel, especially that it's consumed and heading to war with China? I don't know this. I don't understand the second part of that.
Wow. So the support to Israel has a lot of different layers to it. There are a lot of political layers with American Jews and money and Christian Americans, which I don't really claim to understand. Um, I'll tell you this much: the majority of the aid, it's in fact actually a stipulation. I'm pretty sure, maybe someone can fact check me on this, but that the aid that goes to Israel, a very large portion of it has to be spent back on the U.S. economy. That's why
Oh,
Israel buys, like weapons and F-16s and things like that. So the Iron Dome was developed with American money.
was it Raytheon who did
I think the Israeli military companies developed it with Americans,
Okay.
but I'm pretty sure, and this is where I don't know, maybe someone can Google this, but I'm pretty sure it was paid in full by American money.
Okay.
Thanks, Obama. Thanks, Obama. But yeah, thanks, Obama. But the Iron Dome, which I think we've all kind of seen in action, that without it, we'd have,
Yikes.
hundreds of people, and hundreds of people dead, and a lot of the American aid goes back. A lot of American aid to Israel goes back to the American economy. So that's one thing. The other thing is, I do believe Israel is a strategic ally for many reasons.
Sure.
If when it comes to technological innovation, but also as a base in the Middle East, as a physical
The geography
base
of
in the Middle
it.
East. And say what you like about President Trump, not a huge fan, but the peace agreements between Israel and the Arab nations are really, really playing an interesting role right now, because who doesn't seem to be very upset about what's going on in Israel is the UAE and a lot of Saudi Arabia, like all these Gulf countries, especially, who are putting out statements that I won't say they're pro-Israel, but let's say they're a lot more moderate than some American politicians are putting out.
Yes.
Yes,
That's
so-
another.
And that's all right. So I see that as already bearing fruit, because again, when you have economic interest, when you have tourism interest, when you have interests other than obliterating each other, then that's a good start.
So when I put this up, if the
I
sound
would
is
say if I'm still in Twitter jail, if so, I'm
okay,
gonna retweet
if
it.
the sound is good enough, we will get this up as just a podcast over on Apple Podcasts and all the other places where the Paloma Media Podcasts feed. But
I'm out of Twitter jail.
yes, you look so free. But I want to put a link over there to Bacha Ungar Sargon, who is a good friend. She's been on this podcast twice. You can go over and look at our stuff at Paloma Media on the YouTube, and she also is one of the editors at the opinion pages of Newsweek. And she had I thought was a very, very good piece that came out the same day as your tweet thread. My two dear friends, she's also Israeli, and she talked about.
She writes about this like a lot more
She
eloquently
does. She
than
does.
I do, and without like the
she's-
cursing and the table slamming.
She's an opinion editor at Newsweek, so of course she's going to be writing about this. I get to write for her sometimes too. And she wrote about how what's going on in terms of the Israeli hate right now. There are a lot of parallels right now with the sort of, I hate the word woke, but it's become
We need to find a
shorthand. What
better
am I
word.
going to do in this country against a lot of people that don't sort of, see very clearly it's one way, and you guys are, these people are the enemies, and then tomorrow it's these people. Oh, and then these people, we need more enemies, as I've been calling them lately, the rage calories. What's going to get you enraged today, so that I can get out there and make sure that everybody understands that my side is right. Look at this. Absolutely. How could I be wrong? All these people agree. All these Twitterati agree, and we get to like destroy these people in like with one little tweet. Anyway, she made it. She did a lot smarter than I'm just blabbing off here. Really making some comparisons with the really, really seriously almost vile and vituperative or vituperation or hatred of Israel right now, with some of the hatred that is going on toward anybody that they want to hate today.
Yeah.
And I'll just add one more thing I heard today, and I wonder about this. I grew up in New York City. I thought half the world was Jewish. It was it was the 70s. Everybody was secular, whatever. I just I never really even heard of anti-Semitism growing up. I honestly didn't. It was just like world, New York City, everybody's playing around. I spoke this morning. The first conversation I had this morning was with Bernie Madoff's defense attorney. Okay, boy, talk about a cool, interesting way to start the day. And I asked him, I was like, so like it wasn't actually a trial, but like when Madoff was in the, they were trying to decide what his penalty was going to be. I said, what was the response from the public? Like, were you like this, like almost like this celebrity, or were you vilified? And he's a very, very funny guy, great delivery. And he said, Nancy, the anti-Semitism, I will not actually even repeat what he said to me.
It's off the hook.
It is off the chain. I was like, what? I was like 8:30 in the morning after coffee, going like, oh, wait, what? And he's just going off and spouting it off. And I was like, it's almost like, I mean, maybe this is of like, you can be anti anything, it can be anti-black
Yeah.
or anti-woman or whatever. It's almost like there's this giant pulsating boil with like the thinnest little skin, and something happened, it just goes like,
It never goes out of style.
it never goes out of style. Why does anti-Semitism?
Why do people hate you?
Why do people hate you so much? No, I'm serious. Like because I did not like. It is such a mystery to me, but it's real. It is actually real. And
It is real, and it's for me, I think the best defense is this the Iron Dome of anti-Semitism, if you will. Is
look at the lights.
is humor, because I just find a lot of it funny.
Yeah.
Especially like the outright, kind of like the Jews can do. There's Mark Maron, who's a stand-up.
Yeah.
comedian,
He's got a podcast.
has this great bit where he says, oh, they say that he's doing stand-up. He says, oh, they say the Jews control the media, the Jews control the banks. I'm surprised I have time for this. So
with so much to control.
So I don't mind it. I don't, I'm not fazed by the casual Hitler comparison because I just find it kind of entertaining. What really, really gets under my skin and really hurts me is people who are disguising this anti-Semitism as criticism of Israel, as criticism of Jews. And you asked me earlier if I think anti-Semitism is driving it. I'll actually give a response that I think a lot of Jews won't disagree with. I don't think these people are I don't think they hate Jews. I think they hate Jews doing things like self-determination, like protecting themselves. I think they see Jews in this kind of very, very narrow prism as, as white, which apparently I'm very confused. If somebody could tell me if I'm white or not.
Tomorrow's going to change. So
I don't
just
know.
don't
But
worry
right
about it.
now, we are considered white, and they see it like, Jews are somewhere along the power hierarchy, just between, white men and, the cisgender gay men, who are also pretty high on the, like, the oppressor right now, if you've been following. But so I think that's where we really slip into a dangerous territory where people start, talking about geopolitical stuff or things that are not really fact-based or completely obsessing over a country the size of New Jersey and 8 million people who have been in a conflict for hundreds of years, and, have more UN resolutions against Israel than China, Iran, Pakistan, Saudi Arabia combined. I think that's where you border into, okay, there's an allure of anti-Semitism here, because it's just completely disproportionate.
Ooh, the allure of anti-Semitism.
That should be our title.
Or like you're in Saks Fifth Avenue, like the window. The allure of
scent.
I just want to cut in and say, so Tyrone, he's like, do you remember me? They're the kids that just moved in downstairs. They came up to the party and like, do you have a knife? Because they needed to cut open some boxes. Anyway, hi neighbor. He's like literally downstairs from us, like as we
We're
take.
gonna have Chinese food after, so if you want to come have Chinese food. Okay. Well, I can keep like just spinning and talking, but
we are gonna do a couple things. Number one, these are the conversations we like to have a lot. Like
we do. This is like
no,
awful.
No, it's not. We talked about like
awful.
having conversations where like things are not exactly clear. Like where are you coming from? Let's have people come in.
And also, again, like Nancy's learning about being Israeli now, because I'm like, also Nancy.
It's okay. I do that to everybody.
No, what I told Matt Welsh on Saturday is that I kind of feel like, again, I don't know if this is offensive. I kind of feel like a little bit like people were tiptoeing around Black people after Black Lives Matter and George Floyd, and they're like, I don't know, can I ask you this? Can I not ask you this? And I feel like people like don't know. Like people are texting me and saying, I'm so sorry about what's going on, which I appreciate, but I also don't think people need to apologize. But I would rather people ask me offensive and annoying and dumb questions, which there are no such thing as dumb questions, than not.
Don't hide. Don't be one of those people that's like, well, I would have asked, but
Be brave, ask bullshit.
You have to ask. Stop not asking. Stop not stating your opinions. Find out you're wrong. Disagree with somebody. Just like bring it. So
ask me. Worst case, I'll be like, I can't believe they asked me that.
We want to do more of these. So a couple of things. Number one, about 6 or 7 weeks ago, we started a clubhouse, basically called Policing and Perception. We've got all kinds of interesting people in that room, from police officers, former sworn officers, public information officers, activists, journalists, people that are just really, let's talk turkey here. Policing has been, for the past year and a half, is a giant question. I've been addressing it.
I miss policing. Now that we're doing the Israel stuff,
she works with the police.
I miss how calm policing conversations were.
Write about it. We've had these conversations, and you talk about how do we get to better places? It's definitely not by denying, officers being allowed to march in the gay pride parade, which is our buddy Matt Welch wrote about it today. It's on Reason. Your friend Anthony was at the party, who is a gay NYPD police officer. He wrote an incredible tweet thread about it. I'm going to be blogging about that. I'll put some links up on the when I post this. But it is about talking, and people have said, thank you for throwing those rooms, because we can't get these kind of conversations. Everybody's always yelling at each other. So we're both, I'm heading out of town for 3 weeks on a road trip tomorrow, and you're going to be traveling.
I'm going to be actually in LA, and in Montana and Wyoming and all kinds of places. So,
but do look for these on Clubhouse. And also, I think we want to do something once a week. Not really sure what we're going to be talking about. We're going to have a little hiatus because I'll be gone, but
it's great when I come here that this is like, it's like a kid in a candy store. Like there's literally candy everywhere.
There is actually
candy everywhere. There's alcohol everywhere.
Yeah. And baked goods, and it's really not a terrible place. So
as long as she keeps inviting me, but we'll continue to talk about these things and come listen and hear and ask questions, and you can leave and be like, that lady's full of shit. but at
That's
least
fine.
you know, like
That's fine.
I don't think anybody can deny that we're not like speaking authentically. Like I'm not. Oh my God, there's a pigeon that
Oh,
is
God,
like
they're-
about to fly into the window.
I know they have a nest there. These stupid, God, they're ugly. I gotta tell you,
We're very
baby
anti-pigeon here.
pigeons are the only things I've ever, the only small babies that are uglier
They're
than the
disgusting.
parents. It's like, how
They
is
have,
that
like,
possible?
Yellow, like
Oh, they're gross. Ugh, they're
Anyway.
disgusting. Anyway, we're gonna go get some Chinese food. Thank you so much for spending 45 minutes with us. Tyrone, we'll see you in the hall, and we'll see you here soon. Thanks, guys. Oh, subscribe to this channel.
Subscribe. Follow us on Twitter.
Follow us on Twitter.
Now that I'm out of Twitter jail, LBT is my username.
And at Nancy Rom, NancyYROMM, also at Paloma Media. Subscribe here. It's free. We love you guys. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Thanks, Khaled. Thanks, John.